Although there's never been a proper sequel to Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright's idea for a follow-up movie made an appearance in a huge superhero blockbuster. Shaun of the Dead was the first movie in Wright's Cornetto trilogy, but this is merely a thematic trilogy with no continuity between the events or characters. Shaun of the Dead is filled with great jokes, many of which come from Wright's snappy directing style, but it's also a surprisingly effective horror movie when it wants to be. Wright is clearly a big fan of classic zombie movies, so his loving parody pays tribute to the greats while producing a lot of original ideas. Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse pays tribute to the unmade Shaun of the Dead sequel. Into the Spider-Verse creates many slightly different universes. Peter Parker with a Shaun of the Dead billboard in Into the Spider-Verse. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg initially tossed around the idea of a Shaun of the Dead sequel, tentatively titled From Dusk Till Shaun, but they never followed through on the project. 14 years later, the unmade sequel made an appearance in the background of Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse director Rodney Rothman wanted to fill the many different universes of the movie with small details that seem slightly askew from our own world. To do so, he contacted several filmmakers to ask for their unmade sequel ideas, adaptations, and failed pitches. Essentially, he wanted to see what these directors would have made in different universes. Edgar Wright responded to Rothman's prompt with the idea of From Dusk Till Shaun. Rothman put the unmade sequel on a billboard in Times Square in Peter B. Parker's universe. It's easy to miss, but fans of the Cornetto trilogy will recognize Shaun's iconic red tie and cricket bat in an instant. It's a little hard to make out, especially since it's only on screen for a second, but it seems as though Ed is still a zombie in the sequel. This shows that it isn't an alternative version of Shaun of the Dead, but a sequel that carries on from the events of the first movie. Why Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg never made a Shaun of the Dead sequel? Shaun of the Dead is already a flawless standalone movie. Wright and Pegg started joking about From Dusk Till Shaun while still filming the first movie, but they never seriously pursued the project. They have always maintained their stance that Shaun of the Dead doesn't need a sequel or a reboot of any kind, despite pleas from fans for more. Pegg has expressed the idea that a Shaun of the Dead sequel would feel less personal, since the original draws inspiration from his own life. It's also possible that Wright and Pegg never would have gone on to make the movies they have, both together and separately, if they were fixated on sequels from the outset.